Ever notice how some people become more powerful the exact moment everyone else starts falling apart? While others panic and desperately chase validation, these individuals operate from a completely different reality. They don't react, don't explain, and absolutely don't chase, yet somehow everyone else starts orbiting around them like they have invisible magnetic pull. This isn't magic. It's what happens when you weaponize spiritual awakening correctly. The doormat delusion. Most people think awakening makes you weak, some kind of spiritual pushover who gets walked all over. They're not just wrong, they're completely backwards. Real awakening, the kind Carl Jung actually documented, doesn't make you a doormat. It makes you absolutely untouchable. While everyone else has emotional breakdowns, you become strategically detached. While they desperately seek approval like oxygen, you stop needing it, and suddenly everyone competes for your attention. While they're explaining and defending everything, you simply act from unshakable inner authority. Jung called this individuation, but let's be real about what it actually means. You stop being controlled by other people's chaos, and that makes you the most powerful person in any room. Think about it. Who actually has influence? The person constantly trying to convince everyone they're right, or the person so centered they don't need to convince anyone? The person begging for respect, or the person whose very presence commands it without saying a word? The spiritual establishment's lie. Here's what nobody tells you about real spiritual awakening. Most people who call themselves spiritual are actually the most pathetic people in any room. You know exactly who I'm talking about. The coworker who lets everyone dump extra work on them because it's all love. The friend who loans money to the same deadbeat repeatedly because we shouldn't judge. These people have turned spirituality into a license to be walked all over. They'll smile while their boss screams because anger is just hurt. They'll let their kids disrespect them because children are our teachers. They stay in toxic relationships because everyone deserves compassion. The worst part, they're proud of it. They actually believe their doormat behavior makes them enlightened. But Jung saw through this pathetic performance immediately. He understood that real spiritual people aren't the ones getting walked over. They're the ones nobody dares to disrespect in the first place. The shadow integration secret. Jung discovered something that made the spiritual establishment so uncomfortable they tried to suppress his work. Your greatest power lies buried in your shadow, not your light, not your positive qualities, but everything you've been taught to deny about yourself. Every spiritual tradition teaches people to amputate half of themselves. Don't be angry, don't be selfish, don't be manipulative. But Jung asked the dangerous question, what happens to those qualities? They don't disappear. They go underground, become your shadow, and from there, they control you completely. Jung studied hundreds of patients and noticed a terrifying pattern. Patients who tried to be only good became the most manipulative. Those who denied their anger became passive-aggressive destroyers. Those who suppressed selfishness became martyrs who controlled through guilt. Those who rejected their power drives became secret tyrants. But the patients who owned their darkness, they became luminous, not because they acted out their shadow impulses, but because they integrated them consciously. The integration process. When you completely integrate all parts of yourself, including the parts you've been taught to hide, something powerful happens. You stop leaking energy through internal conflict. You stop being at war with yourself. You stop projecting your unowned darkness onto others. You become complete, and completeness is magnetic. This isn't about becoming a psychopath. There's a crucial difference between shadow integration and destructive behavior. Psychopaths are controlled by their shadow. They're slaves to their impulses. Integrated people control their shadow. They're masters of their impulses. When you integrate your capacity for anger, You can deploy it strategically when boundaries are crossed, but you're not reactive. When you own your manipulative abilities, you can influence outcomes skillfully, but you're not compulsive. The 6 patterns that drain your power. Jung identified 6 unconscious behaviors that keep people powerless. Chronic people-pleasing, sacrificing your truth to avoid conflict. Emotional reactivity, being controlled by your triggers instead of responding consciously. Seeking external validation, needing others' approval to feel worthy. Avoiding necessary conflicts, letting problems fester to maintain fake peace. Self-sacrifice without boundaries, giving everything away while receiving nothing. Accepting abuse for belonging, tolerating mistreatment rather than being alone. Each pattern hands your power to someone else. Each one keeps you small, reactive, and dependent. Reclaiming your authentic power. Jung's path to individuation, becoming your actual self rather than the version that survived, requires 3 key shifts. 1. Awareness over amnesia. Stop pretending you didn't see the pattern. Stop justifying behavior that feels off. If it drains you, warps you, or silences you, it matters. Clarity is power. 2. Boundaries over performance. A boundary isn't a wall. It's a declaration of what you will no longer abandon yourself for. You don't need to yell or explain for hours. You need one honest sentence. That doesn't work for me. 3. Integration over image. Stop performing your best self and start integrating your real self. That includes your anger, desires, and shame, not to act them out, but to own them. You're not whole because you're calm. You're whole when you can hold your contradictions without crumbling. Conscious participation. Once you've reclaimed your power, the real mastery begins, learning to move through the world without being moved by it. This is what Jung called conscious participation, engaging with unconscious systems without becoming unconscious yourself. The most powerful individuals in history weren't those who withdrew from the world, but those who learned to participate in the illusion while never forgetting it was an illusion. They could play the game without being played by the game. This requires 3 capabilities: the observer self, watching yourself play various roles without identifying completely with them; strategic authenticity, knowing how much truth to reveal and when; influence without attachment, guiding outcomes without being emotionally invested in whether people follow your guidance. Maintaining power, the 3 principles. Jung identified 3 principles that separate authentic leaders from spiritual narcissists. 1. Power through service, not domination. The more you use your power to serve something greater than yourself, the more powerful you become. But the moment you start hoarding power for personal comfort, it begins to evaporate. 2. Continuous growth over static achievement. The moment you think you've arrived spiritually, you start declining. Power requires constant evolution. 3. Responsibility without attachment. True power comes with responsibility, but you must hold it lightly. You serve when called, lead when needed, but you're not attached to the role. The ultimate test. Jung's ultimate test for sustainable power. Can you maintain your sovereignty when everyone wants to take it from you? Can you stay centered when others try to make you reactive? Can you remain authentic when there's pressure to perform? The world will test your commitment to consciousness constantly. Family will try to guilt you back into old roles. Colleagues will attempt to drag you into drama. Society will reward conformity and punish authenticity. But when you master conscious engagement with unconscious systems, something remarkable happens. You don't just maintain your power, you become a catalyst for others to find theirs. Your refusal to participate in unconscious patterns gives others permission to wake up. Your choice. You now have Jung's blueprint for authentic power. You know how to reclaim your shadow, become psychologically sovereign, and stay conscious in an unconscious world. But knowing means nothing if you don't live it. The next time someone tries to guilt you into abandoning your boundaries, will you cave or hold your ground? When someone pushes your buttons tomorrow, will you react from your wounds or respond from your sovereignty? Your authenticity isn't just nice to have, it's essential. Every time you choose consciousness over conditioning, you give others permission to do the same. Your courage to be real makes it safer for others to be real. Stop playing small. The world needs what you've got when you're operating from integrated power. Make the choice to be completely yourself and watch everything else fall into place.